Evening, day walkers and night stalkers. It's me, your road-weary, twisted Southern horror queen, coming to you live from under a full moon right here in southeastern Louisiana, and I'm so glad to be home. We have put some serious miles on the Adrian's Fury dragster this week. We've been all over the place doing horror cons that we've been telling you guys about. Well, we've actually been there and done that with some of them. So tonight I'm going to tell you all about it. This is kind of like my con recap episode. So I hope you dig it. Just for you guys that didn't get a chance to go, I'm going to tell you all the ins and outs, at least from mine and Big Johnny Blender's point of view. So I did manage to get a few of the pictures posted on Facebook under Southern Horror Queen. Most of those are from Harlan HauntFest, but I do have some up there from Gulf Coast Fan Fest as well. But we're going to start with bloody Harlan, Kentucky, because that was where we were weekend before last. And that's why we didn't have a live show last week, because we were coming back that Monday. First up, I gotta say to Earl McKinney, dude, you did a fantastic job putting the con together. Harlan HauntFest is Earl's baby, and he's been doing it, I think, for 5 years now. He did a fantastic job organizing and promoting this event. Had some really cool flyers and videos, and that was the first time I think an event had ever made a video for me. So it was really cool. Kind of freaked me out when I saw it. The con itself was great. The ride getting to it sucked horribly. It was terrible. We get there and everything was going good till we got to right around Knoxville, and then it was like nothing but brake lights for as far as you could see. So we wound up sitting in traffic for like 2 hours. We were ahead of schedule, and we knew with that whole 2 hours of sitting there that meant we were going to be going up some dark little winding roads that went way up mountains and way down hills, and weren't exactly thrilled with that, but we actually managed to get there. But after sitting in traffic, we get up there and we finally see what the problem was, and it was this little minor fender bender, a couple wrinkled up bumpers, and the drivers were both standing there filing their police reports. So I'm like, we're from Louisiana. If there's traffic backed up and we're looking at a wreck, you bet your sweet ass there's some carnage there. There was no carnage. I don't understand why everybody had to stop. Maybe they were all individually getting out of the cars and taking selfies in front of the dented bumpers. I don't get it. But anyway, we finally got past it, and 5 miles up the road, guess what? Nothing but brake lights again, and it was the same kind of scenario, just on the opposite side of the road. I don't get it. Both the wrecks were off the side of the interstate. It was easy to get around them. In Louisiana, if it's gridlocked like that, it's because both the shoulders of the road, all lanes of the road, and the median are blocked, so there's nothing to drive on to get around it, because we're going to keep going. But apparently that's not the way they roll over there, so no carnage. But anyway, we finally get to the hotel a little bit later on that night. We were just road weary, exhausted, a little bit on the irritated side, but it got a whole lot better the second we pulled into the parking lot, because as soon as we pulled in, here came another truck that was hauling a little trailer, and they get out, and we realized it was the Roebucks. And I've talked about the Roebucks before. The first con we met them at was Southern Geek Fest. That's Cammie and Dee the Muffin Thief, or the Cupcake Thief. They do some great cosplay stuff. They have some great items that they actually vend in the vendor's room too. And one day I'm going to actually pick some up. But we've seen them in Tupelo. We also saw them in Harlan. They're the ones that, if you look at my authorlyngibson.com page, and there's pictures of the dragster and event pictures as well, they're the ones that's dressed in the Silent Hill outfits. They're really cool. Well, Cammie was there. Of course, the Cupcake Thief, he was there as well, but Cammie was dressed up. I think she was the bride of Dracula. It was a new outfit. I hadn't seen that one before, and she had her little teeth going on and everything. It was really cool. I believe she designs and makes her own costumes, and she does a really good job with it. But so anyway, we pull up, we see the Roebucks, and we knew that immediately we were already amongst our own, so things were fixing to start to get a lot better. So while John's wrestling, trying to get all of my luggage out of the back of the trailer, I dragged my tired ass to the front desk to check in, and Before I got to the door, John had caught up with me because I wasn't moving real fast at that point. And as soon as he catches up with me, the front door of the hotel busts open, and here comes Josh TKO Turner in all his glory, strutting out of the hotel. It gave us a big hug. And man, it just, all the bullshit we had been through to get there was gone. He is just a breath of fresh air. The second you see him, you can't help start laughing because you know something funny is fixed to come out of his mouth. But it was really good to see him again. So we got everything lugged upstairs, and Big John went and loitered around with him and John Anderson and whoever else was down there smoking. And he, I'm sure, lit up a cigar, and they hung out for a while and talked bad about women. And I'm certainly, I was probably one of them because I'd been bitching for the last 2 hours. But anyway, we'd made it there. Everything was cool. Got everything unpacked. And, oh, John Anderson. Yeah, I needed to tell you who he is if you don't already know. Now, he's been recently in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. He was, I forgot the part he played, but you'll know him when you see him. But he's been in a whole lot of other flicks too. And he's nearly as demented as I am. So you know I'll like him. But anyway, I went upstairs, got everything unpacked, got a hot shower, and took all the war paint off. And folks, I don't leave the room of the hotel once the war paint comes off, because it is a horror con convention. They do have all the guests at the same hotel. And I would hate to be mistaken for somebody in costume as a troll or something, because I don't have my makeup on. So I just chilled out in front of the TV in the room for the rest of the evening. It was all good. Now, the next morning, of course, was the day of the event. We got up early so I'd have time to get ready. And John actually was going to run over there and set up the car. So we wake up and we make our coffee there in the room. You know how they tease you with like these little bitty coffee machines, and they're so cute and everything, but it's like there's not even enough there to get you started. Well, you know, I'm one of those people that I don't even speak until I'm like 3/4 of the way through my second cup of coffee in the morning, and it's usually not pleasant. You know, it kind of starts out like a low-pitched growl or something, but it does eventually get a little bit better. Not very fast, but it does happen. So I'm hitting my second cup of coffee, and John's running for the door to go down to the lobby and get us more coffee before my head starts spinning like Linda Blair. So a few minutes later, I'm sitting there looking at the bottom of this empty coffee cup, and I'm going, oh God, please get me through today. And John busts through the door, and he's grinning. He's got this crazy grin on his face that says, I didn't do it. So you know that means he's been up to something. I figure he has either pissed somebody off, he's offended somebody, or he's been flirting with the hotel staff. But I was wrong on all three guesses. So he sets the coffee down, and he pulls the stack of the Harlan local papers from behind his back. And he says, you know, we're over 700 miles from home, and you're on the front page of the local paper. And they had done a real cool little write-up for me. Oh, here comes Evidence walking into the girl cave right now. I guess he wants me to show you guys. Now, this is really cool, but I want you to pay attention to something.
She's stroke certified.
I am stroke certified, if you see the headline right here. I think this was actually the perfect addition to put me here. You got cyber crimes units here, and what was this story here? Somebody's being sentenced in 3 drug cases. So it's like, this is the perfect front page to put me on. A little bit older picture. This picture is actually from, I think that might be Spooky Empire in Orlando 2014. But hey, it's all good. It was a decent picture. But anyway, it was kind of cool to wake up and see that. He said, you know, I had to sit down in the lobby for an extra 5 minutes for somebody to walk in and me to be able to say, hey, this is my wife. He's crazy. It's possible that I might have a little something to do with that, but, you know, I'm not going to take the blame for it. Not today, anyway. So, anyway, it was crazy cool. And a big shout out to Brenda Ramsey. She did a great write-up. I have butted heads with reporters in the past that misquote me and ad-lib to their liking, and you know, things don't always come out the way you like them, but she did a fantastic job. She quoted me verbatim, and I really liked the little write-up. So let me stop for a minute and give a shout out. I see Freddie's in the house. Freddie, I'm going to be talking about you later, so your ears are going to be ringing. No, I haven't stabbed anything yet, but the night is young. My boy David Childers is in the house. Troy Gerald, nice to see you. Joe Savino, big boss man, hanging with me, and my girl Melissa Stokes there. Hey, Jennifer Denzer Montesino, I haven't seen you for quite a while. You need to give me a call sometime. And I also see my boy Joe Tapia has joined in. So thanks for listening to me ramble tonight. It's going to be rather unorganized, but I think it'd be a pretty cool show, especially for you guys that have never been to a horror con, because I'm going to tell you all about it. So anyway, he sits down and we get the rest of our coffee in, and he's going to go ahead and go set up the dragster at the event, because the event's like only 3 miles down the road from us, from the hotel. So I start slapping on all the Bondo and squirming my way into a corset, and he's getting everything set up. And because, yes, it does take that long to get dressed, but I was ready when he came back to get me. So that's always a plus, because it's really, really bad when he has to stand there and wait for me. It's like a spoiled child that's been stuck in the corner. Anyway, so we get to the event center, and the very first person I laid my eyes on was our friend Tim Shockey. He's the dude that drives all over the country and brings the Green Goblin head from Maximum Overdrive for people to see. Remember that? That was Stephen King's 1986 cult classic film. It's still a classic today. New fans are watching every single day, so that's a good thing. Thousands of miles a year this guy drives just to get that original movie prop to all of these conventions for all the fans to see. So if you ever see that Tim's going to be somewhere local, make sure you go and check him out, because he has got some badass t-shirts. I've got one of them. Big John's got one of them too. They're a little different, but man, I'm going to have to pick up a couple more if he's got them in my size, because there were 2 more designs that he has that I really like. So make sure you go see Tim if you get a chance to, if you see he's coming by. Then the next person I see is another one of our friends, Sal Lazard, a.k.a. Vampire Santa. Now, Vampire Santa is more than just Vampire Santa. He's an actor. He's had 4 main character roles, tons of walk-in parts on films and TV appearances, and the list goes on and on and on. Now, Sal is a hot mess, and I absolutely adore him. Now, let me tell you about Sal's t-shirts. He's got one that's got his picture on it that says Vampire Santa bites, but he also nibbles and licks. And then he's got another one that says, I showed my boobs to Sal Lazard for this t-shirt. I have both of them. Next up, we're walking around. I decided I was going to go vape for a few minutes before the show actually got kicked off. And of course, you go outside to smoke or vape, whichever, and you're going to run across the really interesting folks. And of course, there was one really interesting guy out there again, my friend John Anderson. So we're hanging out there. Now, John, I'll get a little bit more specific with you. He's been in damn near everything where there's a camera rolling. He's an actor, and he's a comedian, and he's a self-proclaimed professional trick-talking meat. His most recent role was a Ravager. That's what it was, in the Guardians of the Galaxy 2. He was also in Sleepy Hollow, Diary of a Wimpy Kid, The Case for Christ, The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lux, MacGyver, Being Mary Jane, and Tyler Perry's Too Close to Home, and a bunch of other different TV shows and stuff. So he's a really busy dude and a really demented mind, like I said earlier, just like me, but I can't claim responsibility for that. He was like that when I met him the first time. I'm sure I'm not making him any better, but that's okay. So anyway, we got to hang out and kind of game plan how things were going to go that day. I see my Uncle D's in the house. Hey, Uncle DW and Aunt Wanda. Got my mask hanging. I'm looking straight at them. They're gorgeous. One day I'm going to video the lady loft for you guys so you can see all my cool, creepy stuff. I keep it all upstairs so it's all contained in one spot, and, you know, the normal people that walk in the house, they don't get to see it all. I see my boy Hesky CL has joined. Hesky, you need to hang on because I'm going to be talking about you a little bit later too. But anyway, the party kicked off. We had our spot set up, which we had an awesome spot too, because on the right of us was Tim Shockey with the Green Goblin head, and directly in front of us was Matt Atchley's booth. And dude, Atchley is he's a fantastic artist. If you're into characters, oh my God. His drawings are just flawless, for a lack of any other way to describe him. If you ever see that you're going to be anywhere near where he's making an appearance, you got to go check out his artwork. And I've got to get a piece of his, but he's got to get a little bit more morbid for me. He's just not quite bloody enough yet, but maybe I can get him to slap some blood splatters on something he's already got done, and that would be perfect. So we're looking at Matt Ashley's stuff. We got Tim on one side of us. And then just past us were the Mother Fudgers. Yeah, it was on. This was Rita Langford and her daughter Lexi, and they had a table full of homemade fudge and all kind of other stuff. And I'm talking not just chocolate fudge. They had strawberry fudge and orange fudge and peanut butter fudge and every kind of fudge you could imagine, and some you couldn't. And they were all pretty much good because I think I sampled just about everything she had on that table. But they were there, and they were selling a few things for raffle off for a little girl that's not having a very good go of it right now. She's a very sick little girl named Lily. So, of course, I looked down, and Rita had some jewelry that she had made. And one of them was the snake ring that kind of spirals around your finger. And I haven't unpacked it yet, else I would be wearing it tonight because I really wanted to show it to you guys. So, yeah, I guess I just gave that away. I won the ring at the end of the show. I was so happy. So the first thing I did was put my ring on, and maybe next week I'll have it on for you. Or the next show I'll have it on for you. Let's see. What was after that? There was a ton of cool folks there in the showroom. I didn't know a lot of them, but by the end of the day, we knew them. We're all buddy-buddies, so of course we're going to see them again maybe at the 28th and 29th at Night Risers. That would be way cool. So anyway, we got everything set up and checking out the room. Didn't really get a chance to go walk around. And I'm going to try to remember everybody and remember to mention everybody. But as I've warned you guys before, I am an 80s child, and the brain cells kind of struggle from time to time. So if I overlook you, please don't be offended. I'll catch you on another show. So anyway, we finished setting up, and I've put away the last of my books, and I turn around to see the master of the mullet and WWE Hall of Famer Ricky Morton himself hanging out with Big Johnny Blender at the dragster. So those two were flooding the entire ring with testosterone, and then the doors open and everybody comes in. Now, let me tell you guys, Harlan it's not a small town. It's not a big town, kind of medium-sized town, but they have got heart when it comes to loving their heart. I saw some really cool costumes, some pretty awesome cosplayers, just like my girl Cammie, who was there and already sporting her Dracula's Bride costume. And note, Cammie, if you're watching, I don't know if you're watching live, but you're going to watch later. I would love to see you as the mother and the cupcake thief as Norman Bates from Psycho. Think about it. You two could really pull that off. But anyway, back to the crowd. The first costume I see was this dude dressed up like Leatherface. I mean, he had the chainsaw and everything. He was awesome. I took a picture of him. You can see that on my website. And let's see who else. Oh, Jack Sparrow. I'm always a fan of Jack Sparrow when I see him at a con. And at this one, they had a guy there. His name was Daniel Hall, and he did a fantastic job. I mean, he was a dead ringer for Jack Sparrow. So, of course, I had to have a picture made with him. Also on my website, I believe. Anyway, all the folks there were awesome, and they all loved the Adrian's Fury Dragster. If you could just see the eyes on some of these kids. And there was this one little boy. This little dude was so cool. He was like maybe 10 years old, and he was coming and telling me what things were on the car and what they did. And then he starts talking about NASCAR and NASCAR regulations and how he hates this racer and he loves this one. But I couldn't drive because I was a girl. We'll have to work on him a little bit. But his dad did come by later, and I, of course, did discuss that with him. And his dad said he had no idea where he got that from. Anyway, I got to tell you about this other kid now. I kid you not. So this dude comes, and he's looking at my books. You know, they're all laid out on the table. So I'm telling him about him. This is Wicked Truth. This is what this is about. This is short and gory. It's kind of like Stephen King. It's a PG-13 book, but it's still really good. And this is my vampire series. It's got a lot of vampire erotica in it. It's got a lot of Louisiana vampire legends interwoven in it. And he's really into it, and he's picking them up and reading the back cover and open, the prologue and everything. And he sets them back down, and he walks off. And I said, well, it's early in the show. Everybody always likes to look around, make a lap or two before they start buying stuff. And I'm like, he's going to be back. He was way too interested. So, I'm standing there in 6-inch heels while he's there. And this kid was as tall, maybe a little bit taller than me. I figured he's probably, I don't know, 17, 19 years old. The books should be read by 18-year-old, but 17 guy, he probably would benefit by reading the book. Then anyway, he comes back a little bit later with his mom. And I start telling his mom about the Adrian trilogy. And she, of course, was a little bit interested, but she looks over at her son and informs me that he was 12 years old. And she grabs the kid by his arm and kind of drags him away from the smut-slinging flatlander standing there in 6-inch heels. But anyway, I didn't want to offend her, but I really did want to ask her, what the hell are you feeding this child for him to look like he's 19 years old and he's 12? There's something wrong in that gene pool. Anyway, I left that alone. And so the con's rolling on, and suddenly I hear this familiar voice booming through the entire arena. I'm like, oh my God, somebody has given Josh TKO Turner a live mic. Yes, they did. But he's pacing back and forth on a stage. It was time for their Walking Dead panel. So he's got his bat with all his barbed wire that he uses on The Walking Dead. And he's introducing Mr. Rory Healy, which is another friend of ours. He's a real cool guy. He's been in Goosebumps, The Walking Dead, Hunger Games, Captain America, and a whole bunch of other cool films that we've all seen. And then this other dude from The Walking Dead that was supposed to have been a poster child for meth or something. I don't know, but he looked like he was still representing to me. But anyway, Josh stirred the crowd into a frenzy, and the party was just kicking. And Josh has a twin brother too. I didn't know that until we went to Harlan HauntFest. I have no idea what God was thinking, but apparently that does prove that superior beings do have a twisted little sense of humor. Anyway, by then, John had went and he found the concessions, and he actually turned me on to what happened to be one of the best barbecue sandwiches I've had in a very long time. So the food there was really good. After that, he ate, and I ate a little bit. Well, he disappears again, and he comes back with that same little wicked grin on his face. And I'm like, oh my God, I know he's been up to something. Now,
that wasn't Josh's brother.
That wasn't Josh's brother?
Josh just met the guy there.
Oh my God.
They looked exactly alike. I told you myself.
And let me tell you why. We were saying they're twins. I thought they were twins. Apparently they're not, Big John's telling me. Now, they go in the bathroom and swap clothes, and the other guy is standing there signing Josh TKO's 8x10 glossies as Josh, and he gets away with it a couple of times until this one lady just blows a gasket and calls him an imposter. Well, she was right. I really thought that was Josh's twin. Well, I guess a blonde moment. Anyway, John had disappeared, and I figured he was either eating or he'd found another concession stand or something. Well, he shows back up a few minutes later, and he's got the grin on his face again like I was telling you about. Now, he had mentioned in passing a few times that he really wanted some Harlan, Kentucky apple pie moonshine because we had watched Justified for like forever, from episode 1 to the very last one, probably a few reruns in between. He had to have that moonshine. Well, he had hooked up with the Candle guy that was on the other side of us, and Candle guy went home and got him a quart of apple pie moonshine. So they went and met at the truck. And long story short, he is so proud of himself because we have smuggled a quart of apple pie moonshine across 6 states. Actually 7, because we took a little bit with us when we went to Gulf Coast Fan Fest this weekend. Had to share with some of the friends. So anyway, Big Johnny's got his moonshine and another barbecue sandwich. So I decided I'm going to go walk around the room for a little bit, check out the other vendors. I saw a lot of cool artwork. Besides Ashley's, there were some other different type artists there. Very cool work, which I got to break again for a second and tell Wanda Black, thank you very much for the little witchy gift you gave me. I'm going to get her framed and hung up here in the girl cave real soon. I love her. We actually clicked the first time I met her in Hattiesburg at Southern Geek Fest, and I got to hang out with Wanda and Kaylee both for a little while, and I really like Kaylee. She's a smart little kid. She's already got several acting gigs under her belt, and she's really cool to hold a conversation with. She's got a great little sense of humor. Well, during our time talking, Wanda and I actually discovered that Josh TKO Turner and Big Johnny Blender have a whole lot in common. A whole lot. So when I look at her and I say, I feel you, I really do, she knows it's the truth. So anyway, I went and looked around a little bit more. I saw some really cool masks. They had a guy there that actually handmade his mask, rubber Jason mask. I think I saw a Kruger mask. A whole lot of really good stuff that he had made by himself. Got to hang out with Tim for a little while, Tim Shockey, and then I stopped over at Sal Lazard's table, gave him a little shout, but Sal was on his best behavior for this trip. This is the first time I've ever seen Sal with his wife at a con. So I'm sure it was a different experience for him. He was rather reserved and talking a whole lot to kids and other things. So other than that, there were a whole lot of old collectors comic books and trading cards and t-shirts and just a whole lot of really cool stuff. And then we got to meet the cast and the producers of the Manzo Shepherd story. Now that I actually may do a little segment on in a later show. This is one of Harlan's most controversial murder legends. And we actually bought the movie and the DVD, and they all signed it for us. So can't wait to watch that. Eventually, I'll get it unpacked if we're home for a few consecutive days where I can get that organized. But we will definitely be checking that out and let you know what we think. But one of the producers came over. He crawled up in the dragster, took a bunch of pictures. And then there was another one that he was walking around kind of doing a video, going from table to table and describing what was there and talking to the people. It's kind of like he was doing the video for somebody who couldn't be there. And he did a real cool little clip with me in the dragster. So you guys check that out. That's pretty cool. I think you'll enjoy that if you get a chance to see it. So then Josh TKO Turner bust out with his unicorn getup. I don't know if you would say it's on then or if it goes all downhill from there, but it was he is insane. You guys have got to check out the pictures. You can see those on Facebook under Southern Horror Queen. But that little unicorn is a pervert, and I'm kind of concerned about the man who wears the uniform as well. But anyway, check out those pictures. I'm sure you'll get a chuckle out of it. Tammy Keller, nice to see you. Steve Rhodes signed in. We missed you today, dude. Hope everything's cool. And there's my boy, Mitch Creighton. Hadn't seen you in like forever. Anyway, before we knew it, the event was starting to wind up. So we start breaking everything down, loading the dragster in the trailer. And trust me, we slept really, really good that night. But I got to say, the drive home was really awesome. Some of those crazy ass winding roads that were freaking us out at night, the night that we drove there. Well, we drove home the same way in the daylight, and we saw that the roads weren't quite as narrow as we thought they were. They were truly winding and up and down and everything, but they were absolutely beautiful. Some of the leaves were starting to turn. Just really, really pretty landscape. So I took a whole lot of pictures. It was raining a little bit, and it was still cool, so that made all the mountains real hazy. It was kind of cool how the fog was drifting over them and everything. So maybe I'll post a few of those later as well. But anyway, we've had a few days to rest up, or we had a few days to rest up. And then we had to get ready for Gulf Coast Fan Fest in Biloxi, Mississippi. Now, let me start off by telling you guys how this thing got started in the first place. So, there's this massive Canadian con that has a habit of coming down and scheduling dates on the same date or annual dates of local events. So they kind of crash those local events, and they've been doing this now for several years. And it's really hurt a lot of these smaller local events. Well, they did that in Biloxi. One of the local events, I think it was their 4th or 5th year, had scheduled and got their guest list all put together, had their venue, their hotel, everything put together. And here comes this Canadian con that I'm not going to call the name of. Well, they really shouldn't have done that, because Rafe White, the founder of Southern Geek Fest, Mike Inslee, the founder of Pensacon, the guys from QuestCon, the guys from MobaCon, and a few other, not little, because Geek Fest and MobaCon and Pensacon are not small events. They're nice size events. They're just not conglomerates from Canada or other places. So these guys all ganged up and said, well, what if us little guys put our foot down and say no more? And we come up with an event. And well, it went from, I see them, going back and forth on Facebook, and they're kind of chatting it out and figuring, well, we could do this and we could do that. And how quick could we get guests? And so they start reaching out, and we were one of the first people that they reached out to. And we said, yeah, we're actually home that weekend. We'll do that. No charge. We'll come and show up. That'd be awesome to be a part of that. So within a matter of 3 or 4 days, they outgrew the original venue. Had the Mike Inslee had to come down from Pensacola and go find a larger event hall, because there were more guests and celebrities volunteering. Yeah, I'll just come. We get what you're doing. We want to be a part of that. We'll be there. So this thing got really massive, really fast. And about a week before the date, this Canadian con cancels in Biloxi, and they don't show up. So we wound up having a fantastic time. Their whole motto with this, the entire time they're setting it up, is it's for the fans, by the fans. And they charge no admission to come in. All of us pretty much, we kind of cut prices and whatever we could to bring people in. We advertised, promoted the event everywhere we could, and there was a really good turnout. I got to see some old friends that I hadn't seen in a long time. I got to see some friends that I have seen recently at some of these other cons, but it was just really good to be a part of that. And I'd say that this time the little guy won. I like that. So anyway, a couple days before the event, like I was saying, they went ahead and they canceled. So anyway, we'll go down this little rundown. We get there, and the first person we see is Chris Heskey standing by the sidewalk, and he's waving us down. Now, Chris's most recent role was in Logan, but he's been in a ton of movies, and he's currently filming something else right now. I don't know if I can tell you guys what that is or not, so I won't, but I know. Anyway, ladies, word of warning. You see Chris Heskey, smile and wave. Don't hug him. Don't touch him, because this dude is fertile as hell. He's got like 27 kids or something. So yeah, go the other way. Love you, Chris. Anyway, Big Chris and Johnny they're good friends. They've been talking it up since May when they met at Geek Fest. And Chris has actually been over at the house a time or two, I think. And he jumped in the dragster in the trailer and helped John get it all pulled out and set in our spot. So we're setting up all of our stuff, and a lot of the other guests actually came and hung out with us after they finished setting up. David Ankrum was there from Star Wars, Jason Carter from Babylon 5, Ricky Simmons from Invader Sim, Walter Jones for Power Rangers, and Mallrat star Jeremy London was there, plus a whole bunch of other accredited artists and cosplayers and just a whole list. So we were promoting this for about 3 or 4 weeks, maybe. I think that's all the time there was before it went from a brainstorm to an actual event and happened. So we pushed it really hard, and I hate if you guys were close by and didn't see that and weren't able to come, because you really missed out on a cool little event. But anyway, we hadn't been settled in very long before Stacy and Ashton Wilson came by to say hi. and I really wish you could have been there with him, Tony. Tony and I went to school together, and Stacy and Ashton are her husband and son, and that was the first time I actually got to meet them in person. Now, Tony was a good girl in school. I, of course, was not. Anyway, then after that, my good friend Frederick Roseman of Kaz Magic Art and his friend Brandy came by to hang out with us for a while. Now, we met both of them, too, at Southern Geek Fest back in May, and they are way cool folks. Freddie was actually the first person that we let get inside of the dragster to take a picture. So there's that. We just kind of clicked with him the first time we met him, too. Now, Freddie is one hell of an artist. Anything you can imagine, Freddie can draw it and make it better. And he's actually working for us or on a special little project for us right now. I'm not going to tell anybody about it, but I can't wait to show you the results once we get them. He's been showing us some little sketches, and they're looking really good so far, Freddie. We're digging what you're doing, Slick. Anyway, I also had a surprise visit from Miss Mary Beth McGee. She's from the Picayune Writers Club, which I spoke at their symposium. God, everything's been such a blur lately. I think it's been 2 weekends ago, maybe 3. I'm not real sure. I'm sure she knows. But she came with a friend of hers that actually, once we started talking, I found out that she's a friend of mine's mother-in-law. Small little twisted world, ain't it? Well, mother-in-law, which I hate to insult anybody, but I'm thinking she's probably in her early to mid 70s. Well, she is digging the car and actually knew a whole lot about engines and stuff. So we used to rebuild motors all the time. So I'm looking at it, and I was kind of halfway joking. I said, well, you want to get in it? She says, hell yeah. And I'm like, oh, shit. So I helped her get in. It was a little slow process, but she was a trooper. She got in it. We took several pictures, and I'm waiting for Miss Mary Beth to post them because I really want to put those on the website. That's going to be awesome. And about the time I get her settled inside and she's dropped down into the seat, Big Johnny Blender just happened to be on the other side of the glass window on the opposite of us. And Rafe White says, hey, there's this old chick climbing in the dragster. You might ought to go check that out. So John comes running around about the time she settled in there, and thank God, because he was able to help get her out, because I wasn't real sure how I was going to be able to do that. We had figured it out. But she was so cool to just come and hang out with us and get in the dragster. That just made my day. You know, a lot of the kids get in the dragster, and some of the chicks like to get in it. Some of the buff guys, they want to get in it too. But that one was the first one that actually I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be that chick when I'm 70 something. Maybe a hog or something I'm climbing on the back of, because I've already been in the dragster. But anyway, speaking of twisted, y'all know that John rates the cons by the food. He's got these little priority quirks with him. Let me give another shout out to whoever it was that catered this event for the guests, because that was some of the best barbecue brisket, barbecue sausage, wings, barbecue beans, and potato salad. Oh, snap. It was fantastic. So kudos to whoever that was. I didn't catch the name of the business that did that, but I want to know, Rafe. So let me know. Drop me a line. So anyway, like I said, we met a whole lot of friends from past cons, and we made a whole lot of new ones. Everybody loved the dragster, of course, and a lot of folks picked up some of the books, and it was an awesome event. No, I did not sell the Adrian trilogy to anybody under the age of 18. We even hooked up with a few new cons while we were there, so hopefully we'll be looking to make a couple of announcements real soon. Looks like we might have another 2 cons added to the list we already have before the end of the year, and another 2 cons added to 2018. And if 2018 pans out the way that it looks like it will, we're not going to be home a whole lot next year. So I'm not sure where the shows are going to be being broadcast from, maybe live at the cons, I'm not sure. But we're going to be doing a lot of traveling, and y'all are going to be getting to check out a whole lot of cool pictures and hearing some cool stories from these cons. So, speaking of busy, I do have an announcement to make. There's a new release out there, folks, and I haven't been promoting it a whole lot because we've all been kind of in the dark about it. So how do you have a book launch and you've been in the dark about it? Let me explain this to you. So 2013, 2014 at Spooky Empire, I hooked up with a bunch of really cool, like-minded authors. And the ringleader, of course, is Mitch Hyman. You've heard me talk about him before. Mitch Hyman is the author and creator and producer of Bubba the Redneck Werewolf, which is on DVD in Walmart and Amazon now. Congratulations, Mitch. Much deserved, my man. So anyway, Mitch comes up with this idea. What if I create the Dark Alley Crew? And I'm going to take the select twisted minds out of this group of really cool authors that I know and push them into this one group. And we're going to do all kind of craziness together. Well, he did that. And we've been hanging and promoting each other's stuff for a couple of years now. And we got real organized. I'm going to say we. I'm going to say Mitch got us very organized and named us the Dark Alley Crew. And he's got us a site and a Facebook page and all this kind of stuff. Well, he comes up with this idea. What if one author writes a few pages, a few paragraphs, a few chapters, whatever, with a storyline that he creates and stops in the middle of it? Then the next author, who doesn't know who the last author was, and the last author doesn't know who the next author is, well, the next author gets the last page only of what that author wrote. And that happens 6 times. And I'm one of the 6 minds, so I wrote my part of it, had no idea who was next, if I was last, had no idea what was going where and who was getting what. Well, I got the word actually on our way to or from Harlan HauntFest. I'm not sure anymore because it's just gone right now. But anyway, books are in hand. They're on the way. I'm not real sure how to promote it, but I got to tell you, I know these other 6 authors. This is going to be one hell of a read. Now, I do have the PDF form in my email, but I'm just not good at reading that. I want the book in my hand. So as soon as I get the book in my hand, I'll give you guys a review, tell you what it's about a little bit. I got to leave some surprise there. But if you're interested in owning one of these, there is only 6 places you can get it. You cannot go to Amazon, Books A Million, any place else where you can buy all of my other books. You can only come to each of us individual writers. So there'll be an announcement who each of the writers were. I just found out who all 6 of them were like 2 days ago. So it's kind of cool. I found out I wasn't the last one, so some poor bastard had to follow where I left off. But anyway, I think it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to read the whole thing. I'm already rating the book a triple M for macabre madness and mayhem at its finest, y'all. So anyway, be on the lookout for that. I've posted a few pictures of the cover and kind of giving you an idea of what it is on my Facebook pages. But once I have them in hand, it's on, y'all. So from one creepy to another, I got to start telling you guys about the next event in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. That's Night Rousers Con, which is on the 28th and 29th of this month. And that was created by John Thompson and sponsored by Hatter. This is going to be tough. Hatterettaville, Bourbon Barrel Tavern, Wingfield Inns and Suites, Fairfield Inns and Suites, and Elizabethtown Tourism and Convention Bureau. So this is going to be a heck of a little event. This is not John's first rodeo. He's had several of these. I think this is his 9th year, if I'm not mistaken. And we're real excited to be a part of it. The guest list is still growing on this one, but so far, this 2017 celebrities list has Malcolm Denier from Christine, which is celebrating 60 years this month. How freaking awesome is that? And then there's Miko Hughes from Pet Cemetery, WCW's Bishop Stevens. You're going to recognize these other ones. Tim Shockey is going to be there with the Green Goblin head from Maximum Overdrive. Sal Lazard, a.k.a. Vampire Santa, is also on the naughty list, along with me and the Adrian's Fury Dragster. Now, our friend John Thompson has all kinds of crazy stuff lined up for this 2-day event. There's, of course, going to be all kinds of awesome vendors there with all kind of crazy, creepy collectibles, artist film viewings, and an escape room, which I may just have to throw Big Johnny Blender in if he's not behaving. There's also a monster motorcycle ride for the event's favorite charity, which supports local veterans, and y'all know we're all into that. So if you find yourself in the area, go ahead and pick up your tickets and come on out and see us on the 28th and 29th of this month in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. It's going to be a cool little event. Now let me see what's going on. His video. Freddie's video plays being a mess. It's okay, Freddie. I'm kind of a mess tonight. Hey, Chris Stockstill from Picayune, Mississippi. Hey, honey, how are you doing? And Melissa Stokes-Bianchi says she already wants one. You may not know what you're getting yourself into, but I'll make sure you get one, my girl. Anyway, so there's good and bad with this con. The good side is that we're going to have a freaking blast, and we're hoping to drop a few live videos on the Facebook pages over the weekend. The bad news is there will not be a live show on Monday the 30th because we're going to be driving home that day, and it would probably be an absolute train wreck even if I did try to do a con, because it's bad enough being locked in a vehicle with Johnny Blender for 11, 12 hours, and he wonders how I got this way. Anyway, driving home on the 30th means something else too. That means I will actually be home for Halloween. It does kind of suck that Halloween's on a Tuesday this year. It just shouldn't be that way, but I'm excited because I hadn't had trick-or-treaters for years because we're usually booked for appearances at other events. And I'm already stocked up on my goodies. I got tons of permanent markers and those cute little bottles of super glue for the 2 to 5 year old ghosts and ghoulies. And for the 5 to 12 year olds, I got bottle rockets and colored condoms. I think some of them even glow in the dark, so that's going to be awesome. For the 12 to 14 year olds, I got stacks of Playboys and a variety of those colorful little box knives. I think those are called X-Acto knives. And for anybody that shows up that's over the age of 14 that's not a chaperone, I'm handing out applications for McDonald's and Waffle House because y'all need to get a damn job, all right? So swing by the Gibson compound this Halloween night and hook the kiddos up with some prime loot, courtesy of your twisted Southern horror queen. For December, like I was saying, there might be 2 more upcoming announcements. I'm just waiting to hear back from the event organizers. Hopefully we'll have a couple more cons to tell you about real soon. Not little cons. These are actually some of the bigger ones. I'm kind of nervous, hoping we get in those. Anyway, now that I've caught all you guys up on the cons, if you're still game, you know what you got to do. Kick those kids out, dim the lights, grab you a nice frosty adult beverage, and lock the door because we got to get our scary on. I got just enough time to throw this one in here, so I'm kind of excited about this because since I won't have another live show before Halloween, I like to tell this legend. This is how the tale of the jack-o'-lantern actually came to be. Now, this legend is rooted in Irish folklore, and it stemmed off the reputation called Stingy Jack. Now, Stingy Jack was a nasty little deviant. He was foul-tempered and mean, and he was a known alcoholic that frequently beat his wife and children before setting off into the streets to create mischief with whoever was unfortunate enough to encounter him. Well, one Halloween night, Jack comes staggering into the local pub. He bellies up to the bar and orders a drink, but the barkeeper is no fool. Jack had a habit of coming into the bar and ordering these drinks, knowing good and damn well he didn't have the money to pay for them. Tonight, the barkeeper wasn't biting. No free drinks for Jack. So now he's pissed. He looks around the pub and he sees that every man in the room has turned their backs on him because he'd already screwed them all over in one way or the other. None of them there that night were game to hook Jack up. So Jack was about to hang it up when all of a sudden the door of the pub flies open. Satan himself was standing in the threshold. The devil had come to claim Jack's soul, and he was eager to add another wicked man to his minions. Jack looks over at the towering beast. Deep within him, he knew the reason for Satan's visit. Now Jack, thinking quickly, invites Satan to have a drink with him. Satan, seeing no reason to refuse his offer, approaches the bar. Jack orders 2 pints of ale for him, then he proceeds to gulp his down in one swig. Now Jack, of course, has no money. So he's laughing at the barkeeper when he demands to be paid. Jack turns around and looks at Satan and convinces him to turn himself into a 6-pence so he could pay for their drinks. Satan, seeing no harm in the further delay, turns himself into a sixpence. Well, Jack, true to his own evil nature, picks up the sixpence from the bar and puts it into his pocket next to a silver cross, which would keep Satan from returning to his true form. Jack then hauls ass, lit from free drinks and richer than he was when he first arrived. At some point, Jack decides to set Satan free, and he releases him to return to his true form with one condition, that Satan would not return for his soul for 10 years. Well, 10 years later, Jack's stumbling down some dark country road, and who should he encounter other than Satan himself? Satan was pissed that he'd been outsmarted and imprisoned by the town drunk, and he's eager to claim what's rightfully his, Jack's soul. I'll go with you, Jack said, but before I go, will you pick that apple from the tree from me? He said, motioning to the top of the nearby apple tree. Satan, again feeling that he really didn't have anything to lose, climbs up the tree, but Jack pissed him off further by demanding to have the highest apple in the tree. So Satan starts grumbling around, but he continues to climb up into the tree. Well, when Jack saw that he was on the highest branch, he ran to the tree and he carved a cross into the trunk so Satan couldn't come down. Jack was so happy with himself, he'd outsmarted the devil himself twice now. And to that point, he made Satan promise that he'd never again come seeking his soul. Satan, having no other option, begrudgingly agreed. Well, not long after this, Jack died, but the story doesn't end there. Seeing as that this dude was such an asshole and he had knowingly made deals with the devil, God refused him entry into heaven. Jack soon after finds himself at the gates of hell, but he wouldn't find any solace there either. Satan had had more than enough of his bullshit, and there wasn't any way he was going to let Jack into hell to spend eternity with him. It's kind of like driving to Harlan with Big Johnny Blender. Jack, standing alone in the dark, cries out to Satan, God won't let me into heaven, and you refuse to claim my soul. Where am I supposed to go? Yeah, well, Satan didn't give a rat's ass, and he hollers out, go back to where you came from. Well, way back was dark and treacherous, and Jack was scared. So he begged Satan for a lamp so that he could find his way back. Satan was becoming more than a little irritated, so he tossed some coal from the lake of fire at Jack's feet. And Jack grabbed a turnip and he carved it out and placed the coals inside to light his way. From that day forward, Jack has roamed the earth in the form of a shadowy man carrying what we know today as the jack-o'-lantern. So if Jack carved a turnip, why the hell do we use pumpkins? Well, the carved turnips were commonplace because of the Great Potato Famine. So it could have been a potato. But when Irish immigrants started migrating to the U.S., they discovered pumpkins or other gourds that were way bigger and much easier to carve. So homes all across the United States and other countries place jack-o'-lanterns in the windows or on their front porches for dual purposes, whether we know it or not. The jack-o'-lantern is said to frighten old stingy Jack away, but on the flip side, a tasty gourd is seen as a food offering to all other ill-willed spirits that are free to haunt the living on All Hallows Eve. So you got your pumpkins ready, folks? All right, so that's just about a wrap. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing me ramble on about the cons tonight. Hopefully I'll try to take some notes for the next one, maybe have a little bit more detail for you. If not, I'll make sure I take a whole bunch of pictures. And you can always check those pictures out on Facebook under Southern Horror Queen, or go to my website, which is authorlyngibson.com. You can check out my books, my blogs, links for the show, the press kit for the dragster, and pictures from past events, and actually the schedule for upcoming events. So get your little asses on your computer and go to www.authorlyngibson.com. All right, so that's just about a wrap for me for the evening, folks. I hope you guys enjoyed the show, and thanks for hanging out with me. So until next time, you guys keep it creepy, because you know I will.